Y en el estado de California han pasado de la sequía extrema a la alerta por inundaciones y desprendimientos que están provocando las lluvias muy intensas de los últimos días.
Una importante erupción con emisiones de cenizas a varios cientos de metros de altura y con violentas explosiones que han llevado a las autoridades a ordenar la evacuación de unas 3.000 personas en los alrededores del volcán.
This aerosol spraying that showed up to be a geoengineering type experiment or possible military activity. It's not natural, the clouds are being manufactured. There's fallout from it, it's washing down in the form of rain into the water and the soil, resulting in us drinking whatever the chemicals are in this aerosol spray. So whether it's a solar radiation management or geoengineering effort, there are absolute side effects and consequences that may actually be catastrophic.
Geoengineers now are moving very quickly to get legislation passed to spray the primary ingredients into our sky, knowing the damage that we have had not only to human health, we've seen aluminum-related illnesses go through the roof, but what free-form aluminum oxide does to our environment is devastating. And it literally destroys crops, it destroys forests, it destroys our Earth. We have an Earth that is being molested. Our ozone layer is being shredded from top to bottom.
Contrails change the amount of sunlight and energy that pierces the atmosphere. I mean, it's in several articles that I can show you. The very term persistent contrail is used so as to indicate it's different from a contrail. So my question is, what's the additive? What got added to cause it to be persistent? I'm just wanting the government to be truthful so that the citizens can make honest decisions about their future.
Geoengineers are proposing spraying 10 to 20 million tons of toxic aluminum and other substances into our sky for the stated goal of cooling our planet.
January 1999, I said that these mysterious contrails were sickening Americans. The illness patterns coincided precisely with so-called heavy spray days, particularly on weekends. People would see this gritting, unusual activity, aerial activity in the sky. They would start to cough, they would get asthma attacks, severe enough to send them to emergency rooms. Doctors were telling the New York Times, we've never seen anything like this. People were dying in great numbers in the early days of this project, and the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, went on record and said, we really don't know what this is. It's not the flu. They called it an epidemic of mortalities. That was their phraseology for this.
When is this?
This is 98, 99, and 2000, the winter months. This was reported in the United States, Canada, in Peterborough, Ontario. The hospital there had 307 acute asthma admissions in a single day. In Birmingham, England, 8,000 people died in 3 weeks, mostly elderly. It was in all the papers, BBC. They were using meatpacking trucks as portable morgues.
We want people to look into this. We want people to question. We want people to look into what geoengineers are denying they're doing, but state they urgently want to do.
Look up. What do you see? Does that look normal to you? The problem is when you do the research, there's a clause that's called informed consent. And informed consent, my understanding, I'm not an attorney, but my understanding of informed consent is when you don't protest, you're basically allowing the government or allowing the military to experiment on you and your children. So when they say, well, possibly we can modify hurricanes or we could modify the storm, they don't really need to say what the other things are or how they do it or what the human health implications are or the environmental health implications are. But by not refusing, you are basically giving your informed consent that you're okay with being a guinea pig for these experiments.
So this is a global catastrophe.
And it's ongoing, of course, or has it dissipated?
Well, it's ongoing in the terms of the 300 tons per day going into the ocean, but the hundreds of thousands of tons that they would dump, tritium is in there, and it's very difficult to remove. But a colleague of ours, Dr. Arjun Makajani, has proposed bringing in a supertanker, getting the wastewater off of that fragile, vulnerable site, taking it somewhere else to deal with, instead of just dumping it in the ocean like it's a giant sewer or something.
And I think that's really the thing that confuses people the most is, where is this going? I mean, it's going to the Pacific Ocean. It can go all over the world. It's terrifying people who are seeing these doomsday predictions.
An issue that's just happening now is 3 years on, the radioactive plume in the ocean is reaching the west coast of North America. It's already hit the Canadian shores of the Gulf of Alaska. It's moving down to Seattle probably next month. And by summer, it'll go further south, the California coast, for example. What this is doing, as Tim said, is it's adding to artificial radioactivity in the background. And every exposure that we have to radioactivity is harmful to our health. There's no safe dose. There's no threshold below which it's not harmful. So we're just adding to this burden. And in the food chain, in the seafood supply, for example, bioconcentration, where these artificial radioactive poisons build up in the food chain, and we sit on top of that food chain.
And it's absurd, Kevin. The U.S. has 104 nuclear reactors, at least 22 of which are near identical designs that the GE reactors in Fukushima. This, coupled with the near impossible task of actually removing the waste, storing it safely, why is scaling back nuclear energy not a more pressing concern in this country?
As Prime Minister Khan said in Japan, though, it's a huge fight. In Japan, it's the most powerful political and economic lobby, he said, the nuclear industry. In the United States, it's one of the most powerful. So that's what the grassroots movement is up against, are these billion-dollar corporations that own Capitol Hill, own the White House, and all too often own the courts as well. So the fight is on, and Prime Minister Khan, who served during the catastrophe, is now a global leader in the anti-nuclear movement. He introduced...
more than 40 years, Israel has controlled the West Bank. But now there are serious claims that Palestinian children are being systematically targeted, arrested and jailed in the battle to control this disputed territory.
And it's that fear and intimidation that makes this system work so effectively well. You never know when there's going to be the bang on the door in the middle of the night.
وكان كل حين يدبني على الأرض يضربني شغلات يكفي معه كان معه بربيج عصا يضربني فيها.
طخه أجم فيه 3 مطاطات 4 بعدين فقع علي كمان علبة شمطت كمان فيه كمان علبة.
These boys are part of the new front line in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They're among the 700 Palestinian children brought each year before Israel's military court.
I grew up a supporter of the State of Israel. I was brought up as a Zionist. I went to Israel again and again and again. But as I traveled around, I would see not just Israelis in Israel living in huge comfort, subsidized by the Americans. I would see settlers in the illegal settlements living in huge comfort. And minutes away, I would go to a Palestinian township or village and see sewage flowing through the streets. If you have any sense of justice at all, the disparity is unacceptable. And it's got worse. Everybody, but particularly the young people and the children, are undernourished. They have hardly any fresh water just for a few hours every 5 days. There's hardly any electrical power. No building materials are brought in, so that the schools that the Israelis destroyed, in some cases with children in them, cannot be rebuilt. Medical facilities are at their minimum. If any other country on earth was doing what the Israelis have been doing to 1.7 million Palestinians in Gaza, there will be United Nations resolutions, there will be calls for intervention, there will be sanctions, but the Israelis literally get away with murder.
saw in the Maidan how ordinary people from all parts of the country had said that we want to change. The Prime Minister was part of that process, showed tremendous courage, and upheld the principles of nonviolence throughout the course of events over the last several months.
Well, this is all part of the United States' attempt to whitewash what happened and the forces that brought Yatsenyuk and the other coup leaders into power. Moreover, it is an attempt to legitimize what the United States is doing, U.S. policy in terms of recognizing what is undoubtedly an illegal government. And of course, it's interesting that Yatsenyuk comes to Washington and portrays himself as the voice of Ukraine, as the voice of the people of Ukraine, and most importantly, as the legitimate voice of the people of Ukraine, considering that is completely out of keeping with not only international law, but events on the ground. We, of course, know that Yatsenyuk was brought into power on the wave of an illegal putsch, and now, coming to Washington, Obama and his advisors are attempting to legitimize that putsch and try to whitewash the fact that it is clearly illegal. What Obama means when he says the people of Ukraine, it's a euphemism for U.S. foreign policy. U.S. foreign policy dictates whatever the people of Ukraine or any other country might believe. This is what we've seen with so-called the people of Libya, the people of Syria, the people of Yemen, the people of Somalia, the people of Pakistan, and we could go on and on and on. Every time the United States government refers to the people, what they really mean is their people, their chosen interests, their political puppets, and so forth. And Yatsenyuk is really a representative of that. When he talks about the people, I wonder if he's referring also to the Nazis who have seized power, the right sector and Yarosh and Parubi and all of the rest of the individuals who have seized power by force and illegally. Are they part of the so-called people? It is utter hypocrisy for Obama and Washington to deny the right of Crimean people to determine their own future while having vociferously argued in favor of the right of Kosovo Albanians to determine their future, of the people of South Sudan to determine their future. Again, this comes back to the question of, is the United States truly interested in democracy, or does the United States only use democracy as a convenient pretext to further its geopolitical agenda? Certainly, I would argue the latter.
So that there is now stronger and stronger understanding that behind snipers, it was not Yanukovych, but it was somebody from the new coalition.
Es permanente. Los medios de comunicación son un poder y son utilizados como arma militar. Es realmente una acción de agitación y propaganda para intentar conseguir que la opinión pública entienda, entre comillas, que eso es una invasión, cuando realmente lo que se ha producido es un golpe de Estado. Intentan legitimar el golpe de Estado. Es una forma de manipulación general.
New world, Ukraine, Venezuela, no new world, Ukraine, Venezuela, no new world.
If it follows the war game, that we're going to be launching on the Crimea and the Ukraine area with nukes to bottle up the Black Sea Fleet so we can do other things in other areas, namely Syria and Iran. That's the end game.
Este es el número de muertos que hasta ahora se ha cobrado la ola de protestas que se registra ininterrumpidamente desde el 12 de febrero en las calles de Venezuela. Fallecidos a los que hay que sumar 300 heridos y centenares de arrestados.
El hambre también mata en el país, en Siria. Esta imagen refleja la desesperación que se vive allí. Fue tomada el 31 de enero en el campo de refugiados palestinos de Yarmouk. Miles de personas se hacinan para recibir algún alimento. La desnutrición provoca estragos. El reparto de ayuda se ha suspendido en las últimas semanas por motivos de seguridad.
Era un sonido muy grave, o sea, era un ruido muy grave. La primera sensación fue de trueno, como un trueno. Esto era un sonido como si estuviera encima de casa.
Era parecido como a un zumbido, pero como si fuera un avión o varios aviones.
Un avión de pasajeros como si estuviera 10 metros 20 nuestra, un poco más arriba, pero que subía muy fuerte. Volvíamos a salir y veíamos que muy normal ese sonido no era.
Es un sonido para mí de fricción con algo, no sé si está producido realmente por algo geológico de la Tierra o si realmente es algo paranormal, y me puse a grabarlo.
Fingers tapping that iPad. Little Alexis Martin is laughing all right. At just 3, the joke's on us grown-ups. From an early age, she was able to label every one of the continents, Europe, Africa, all the rest.
Ready for countries?
There was a... Alexis now reads at a 5th grade level. The average person has an IQ of about 100. Alexis scoring a 160, the highest number possible. Sharing her score with Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking. She taught herself Spanish from that iPad.
Ustedes son hombres.
And she knows every state capital. What's the capital of Alaska?
Juneau.
Juneau it is. But as we said goodbye, one little reminder she's on her way with a word she learned from that iPad.
Adios.
Quincy is the president of Coca-Cola Europe. What good does Coca-Cola do you physically?
I think Coca-Cola does have some sugar in it. It is energy. Is it an absolute necessity? No, it's not.
Does have some sugar in it, you say?
Sure
do you imagine people know if they go to the cinema, and this is a small one, and there are big ones here too. You go to the cinema and you get a jug of Coke like this. Do you think people have any idea how much sugar's in it?
And maybe they don't. And I think one of the things we need to do...
Do you know what it is? Look at this. 23 sachets of sugar in that single container. Now, that is a staggering amount of sugar, isn't it? Look at this one here. There's 44 packets of sugar in this one. 44! Yeah, but whether it's 23 in something this size or 44 in something this size, each of which is to be consumed in one single sitting at a cinema, this is staggering, isn't it?
Look, I think we do need to recognise that things need to change, that the bigger cups need to come down.
So you accept your role in the obesity epidemic, do you?
I think as a contributor of calories into the British diet, of course we must. I mean, soft drinks, all soft drinks together contribute 2% of the calories. It's a part of it, and therefore we need to accept our role, and we do.
Surveillance video, you can see police approach the home of Stanley Prince. Police were there to execute a search warrant and look for items stolen by with a credit card, a stolen credit card. There is dispute over whether or not the police knocked before they broke down the door. During the raid, police realized the home had surveillance cameras. One officer is seen pulling the cables from the surveillance camera outside, and an officer inside covers up another.
Hasta 5 policías tratan de esposar a ese hombre. Acaba de ser golpeado y rociado con gas pimienta, según su hija y su mujer, que graba la escena. Luis Rodríguez, de 44 años, yace boca abajo en este aparcamiento de un teatro en Estados Unidos. Su mujer pide explicaciones, pero nadie se las da. Todo porque la víctima se ha negado a entregar su documento de identidad tras una discusión familiar. El hombre está inmóvil, llega una ambulancia y la mujer, horrorizada, le pregunta si está bien. No se mueve, grita. Habéis matado a mi marido. Implora que le digan si está vivo. Pero el hombre ha fallecido.
my life did I ever believe that our country would be taken over by people like the people who are running it at this day. What's happened with the truth about any of some of the greatest scandals in American history that have happened right before our eyes? If the truth about Benghazi were to come out now, I don't think that this man would make it through his term. I think he would be impeached. We have freedom of speech. We're allowed to disagree and say what we want to say, and should not be persecuted for it. But on the same token, those who have something to say that is too controversial really have to be very, very careful. And I think right now we're at that sort of tipping point where whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, we have to realize that we have to put the parties aside and all to come together as Americans and realize we have to take this country back. Thank you.
At the end of the Civil War, what they did was they set up this secret constitution, and under that constitution, the U.S. Congress became managers of a corporation in the District of Columbia. The states were also turned into corporations, and this allowed the money that was being generated to go to the bankers to pay interest. The money went to the City of London, and then the rest of the money went off to the Vatican.
Europe is a thought that needs to become a feeling. When Europe stops and exposes corruption, Europe reveals its soul. We have soul in Europe.
Papa emérito Benedicto XVI califica de absurdas las especulaciones sobre si dejó el pontificado por presiones o conspiraciones. Un año después de su renuncia asegura que comparte con el Papa Francisco una idéntica visión de la Iglesia.
En un año ha roto moldes. Es el Papa cercano que toca y abraza a los débiles y a los enfermos, que besa los pies a los presos.
Buonasera.
Francisco, el humilde, con su atuendo sencillo, su cruz de metal y sus zapatos gastados. Critica el capitalismo, el consumismo y el individualismo. Limpia el Banco Vaticano, impulsa la reforma de la curia y crea una comisión contra los abusos a menores. Es el más citado en Internet y bate récords de popularidad entre los creyentes, pero también entre los no creyentes.
El puro entrelazamiento no consiste en otra cuestión que hacer de dos lugares distintos el mismo, a través, en un momento dado, de ciertos campos magnéticos en cuanto a intensidad, frecuencia y sobre todo unos patrones. Pero claro, esto dicho así dirán, bueno, serán cosas pues para el laboratorio o cuestiones de alta ciencia. No, pero tiene una traducción, y lo iremos viendo ahora en el programa, tremendamente práctica, que podría explicar además muchísimas cuestiones que nos pasan a diario. Cada una de estas placas con un entorno magnético que sincronizaba las dos placas. Bien, cuando provocamos la reacción en la primera placa, entre el peróxido de hidrógeno y el hipoclorito, emite luz. No mucha luz, pero una fosforescencia importante. Lo más maravilloso del caso es que en la segunda placa, que estaba enlazado cuánticamente, también emitía luz sin que se echase el reactivo.
Bueno, pero esto es magia.
Cuando falló el experimento, la máquina falló echando esas gotitas, ocurrió algo fantástico. Se produjo la reacción lumínica a pesar de que no había habido ningún tipo de reactivo. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Que el campo magnético, a través del enlazamiento cuántico, de alguna manera recuperó información que se encontraba en ese éter, en esas otras dimensiones.
Esas conexiones que se producen, esa memoria que está en algún lugar, que en el fondo estamos hablando de un gran archivo invisible que tiene capacidad de recuperar cosas como esa luz en este experimento.
Si eso ocurre con la luz, ¿qué ocurre con los pensamientos? ¿Qué ocurren con los sentimientos? ¿Qué ocurren con aquellas personas en un momento dado que tienen ese enlazamiento, no ya cuántico, sino emocional, y que sienten esas mismas emociones, aunque se encuentren separadas? Comenzaríamos a tener respuestas científicas para muchos tipos de cuestiones. En definitiva, no es otra cuestión que también recuperar información que se encuentra grabada como si fuera un soporte, como actualmente tenemos la famosa nube, ¿no?, informática. De alguna manera, nosotros subimos a esa nube con nuestras emociones y, por otro lado, nuestra conciencia también la baja de la nube.
¿Se imaginan la verdadera teletransportación de partículas? ¿Conciben que una célula modifique a otra separada a cientos de kilómetros de distancia? ¿Han pensado en energías invisibles, pero medibles, que nos conectan con todo? ¿Y qué utilidad tendrá todo esto para nosotros, los seres humanos del siglo XXI?
13 años golpea sin piedad a otra que ni siquiera puede defenderse. Lo único que hacen para detener los golpes, otras dos menores que estaban presentes. De hecho, una de ellas lo graba todo para subirlo a internet.
Loca de celos porque su marido la había abandonado por otra. Elira, una mujer albanesa residente en Italia desde hace 14 años, descargó toda su rabia en sus 3 hijas de 13, 10 y 4 años, cogió 2 cuchillos de cocina y acabó con la vida de las 3 niñas.
Si la chaîne Smart Nomination peut prendre autant d'ampleur que la NEC Nomination et impliquer pas mal de gens à faire une bonne action, au moins même un petit geste, et que ça se répercute un peu partout, ce sera déjà une bonne victoire.
Lograron captar un objeto que se desplaza hacia abajo y al parecer, mientras se mueve, su sombra se va proyectando en la superficie selenita. Una videograbación impactante, pero no ha sido la única.
Fantastic here. You couldn't ever imagine this. Roger, we know about that. Could you go the other way? Go back the other way. Well, it's kind of rich.
Desde el alunizaje del módulo Chang Etres, la Agencia Espacial de Estados Unidos ha observado de cerca todos los movimientos del rover U2 y el 30 de diciembre del 2013, la sonda de la NASA, Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, observó el lugar donde alunizó la misión de China. Observe. Ponga atención al color de la superficie lunar, como la ha presentado la NASA. Y ahora observe el color de la superficie lunar en las tomas del módulo Chang E3. El suelo lunar es de color rojo, muy parecido a Marte o al lodo de la Tierra. El rover U2, diseñado para recorrer la superficie lunar durante 3 meses, vio interrumpida su misión a la mitad debido a un fallo hasta ahora inexplicable, que a la mitad de su misión comenzó a emitir y recibir comandos extraños que sorprendieron a los controladores espaciales de China.